we're going to ask that you submit any of your questions via our chat feature to me, so that I can be I'm the moderator. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Elizabeth Zimmerman. I'm Senior Admission Counselor here at Carroll. I'm in my 4th year working in admissions, and I did graduate from Carroll in 2011. I'm very excited to be bringing an amazing faculty member here to talk to us about one of our most, I think, interesting majors here at Carroll. So I'm going to go ahead and let Dee introduce herself first and talk a little bit about this amazing program we have at Carroll. So go ahead, Dee.
Hi, everybody. So my name is Dee, and I am the Canine Center Director. I am a graduate of Anthrozoology from a couple of years back, and so it's a program that I'm absolutely excited about, that I want to see grow. And so just real quick, Anthrozoology is, of course, the scientific study between humans and animals. And it's in every field, in every career path, anywhere around the world. So if you think about wherever humans and animals intersect, that is the point in which we work to study. That's where the research field is. And so it's pretty impressive, it's wide, it's open, and I think our professors here do an amazing job, absolutely amazing job, to just keep your minds open about all the different venues. Well, venues, I guess is the wrong word, but historically and culturally, just how humans have interacted, you know, what's important to them, what isn't important to them, how they use them, how they love them, and that sort of thing.
Wonderful. And so maybe, Dee, you could talk a little bit about the progression of anthrozoology through its time at Carroll, like maybe how it kind of got started and kind of where you are today and some of the exciting things that are coming forward for our anthrozoology majors.
Yeah, so it began, unfortunately I can't remember the year, but it began with a student named Whitley Call, who worked on the dog that she trained, I believe turned out to be her own service animal, therapy animal, and it sort of began there with that possibility. And so Dr. Ann Perkins, who I believe headed up the psychology department, is the one who who did bring out where it was like a minor for anthrozoology, because she understood and she really wanted to expose that element of human psychology and how we use our animals. And 2015 was the first graduating class of where it was a bachelor's degree, which is actually the year I started. So I at least got to see my friends who officially graduated with a bachelor's degree that first year. And so since then, of course, it's been a major. We do have minors in canine and equine. So the two animal groups that we work with the most are dogs and horses. But, you know, students can also have experience with wildlife through Montana Wild. And so the progression of where we are today from where we were is that it's one of the fastest growing degrees at Carroll College. It's capturing the minds of so many young students, understanding the differences between their pets, because they look at their pets and like, I love my animal, and what else is there to study, and why do I love my animal so much? And so we are, with the Canine Center itself, it is moving forward into expanding our canine training, but also the understanding of how to do it, you know? So with our classes growing, we're thinking about adding additional courses, additional research classes, critical thinking courses with animals. And so I think it's expanding to where we're adding more elements and subjects, so that when students graduate, they can, like I said, choose the field that they want, but then they will have a nice basis of the scientific portion of anthrozoology so that they contribute to the field in any way that they choose. So obviously we want more research. We need, you know, masters and PhDs out there to kind of continue growing it.
Fantastic. And so kind of following up into that, can you talk about the progression as a student in anthrozoology, like when they start out freshman year, and then kind of what are the options or the types of courses they'll take through their 4 years at Carroll, and maybe a little bit about like research, like how does that tie in as a student of anthrozoology?
So the very first year, the first 2 years are really where it's the foundational portion is how I refer to it. So the first year is the overall umbrella version. This is what anthrozoology is as a whole and all the different places that it touches in our lives in the intro course. And in the second semester, it's the survey of animals in service, and that goes in a little bit more detail. You know, it talks about like the prison pups program. It talks about how, you know, they've got like cockfighting and they're trying to understand how, you know, it's to some people it's like abuse or something, but to the people that are actually doing it, they actually take really good care of them, and there's like some pride in it, and it's just trying to understand that, you know, you love something so much but then you put it in a situation. Do you know what I mean? And so there's also really great field trips that happen where, especially the first year, students will go into the local women's prison in Billings, and they'll get to see firsthand how that PUPS program helps rehabilitate women. And it actually reduces the recidivism rate for those that are released versus those that are in general population, because it gives them pride in what they do, taking care of themselves, that sort of thing. And there's also one for Zoo Montana, which is really great to understand why that zoo is really special and has like a good message about showing animals that thrive in their area, in their regional area. You go to a big zoo, you got polar bears, you got elephants, but you got to make them comfortable. And so this zoo is pretty special that it focuses on the animals that live here comfortably. Their second year, they continue to, oh, well, actually I'll say the first year there's a lot of volunteer opportunities. The students do go to Lewis and Clark Humane Society. They go to Montana Wild, and they can participate in any canine or equine activities that are happening around town. Because I believe we have a dog show, and we have like sports events, that kind of thing that requires students to be a part of it, to see how it starts, which is great because they can get their foot in the door in any capacity that they want to work with animals and volunteer all 4 years, which is amazing because it starts to grow. It keeps things fresh, and they start adding what they're learning in their volunteer work into the additional courses that they're taking. Yeah, and so their sophomore year, in one of the courses, canine science that they'll be taking, and equine science too. There is the physiology and the body that they do start to understand. And there is a trip there where we go to Yellowstone, and we do wolf watching, which is amazing. So students have the opportunity to see wolves in their natural habitat, really from a way distance, but it's really beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful, and I think kind of life-changing, because the history of Yellowstone is how they were introduced many years ago, and they changed pretty much the whole ecosystem kind of thing and put it back in balance. And you think, oh, we're introducing a predator, but it puts everything back in balance, which is pretty amazing. And then once they've done their first 2 foundational years, it's their junior year that they have the opportunity to work with a dog, be a student handler. And in that, they are kind of applying the information that they have from learning and cognition into how to modify behavior in an animal. Because if you think about the psychology that goes into working with people, children, adults, trauma victims, anything like that, the helping or changing the behavior is kind of the same with humans than it is with dogs. And so they get to see that firsthand, how to do it. And I think it's so valuable because once they graduate, if they're actually a student that really wants to go more into the human track instead of the animal track, they can still apply those lessons and how to be more kind of like a fear-free approach and understand what's really needed to bring somebody out of their shell, and just be kind of kinder about applying things for trauma victims. And they get that here, and I think it's wonderful. And you know, they get to know amazing training techniques, and so honestly, some of our students have gone on to do dog training because they found their contribution that they want to put into it, and they've become amazing graduates. Their senior year is where they're taking animal welfare. Another course I can't remember, I'm sorry.
That's okay, that's okay.
Where they, well, I'm drawing a blank real quick and you're recording.
Yeah, no, you're okay. So junior year, animal welfare, but like, are there certain things they focus on or have to?
The training portion is where they start to learn how to kind of train a dog to be a service animal, what kind of techniques they perform for their human counterpart or their partner. Because a service animal is very specific. They have to perform a task for someone, opening a door, holding something, picking something up, versus understanding how one can train and work with a therapy animal, which is different. So that's where you see dogs or birds or other animals as part of like a therapy session. Do you know what I mean? And so there's like this conduit or like social lubricating or something like that the words are, where it brings people to be able to speak to another human through the animal, you know. And a story that I heard once from Dr. Aubrey Fine, who came out and talked to us a couple years ago, is that in his practice, there was a child who was able to communicate with him what was going on in her life through a dog. And I believe it's that she was sort of talking to the dog about it, or she just felt very relaxed that there was something pleasant with her. And it was amazing. It changed her life. It changed his life, you know? So, and then of course we've got our sports dogs, you know, that lends itself to really, I think, growing a person when it comes to really doing something fun and entertaining with their dog, you know, because there's a goal. It takes a lot of work to do it, but I think it still obviously connects that person with their animal. And then we have working dogs, which are the more specific, like search and rescue, bomb detection, narcotics, that sort of thing, where the student, this is for the senior year, a student is really working to produce an actual working animal. And so their training is very specific, I'm going to say grueling, but it's because it's an everyday task that they work on. And those that have graduated with it have gone on to do, like I said, they do work, they're creating police dogs, they're doing service animals that are actually going out and being partnered. And as for research, we encourage research, of course, of all kinds. A couple of years ago, fortunately, I can't remember the organization, but they funded a project or a research study between us and the Lewis and Clark Humane Society about the stress levels of dogs. And so one of our students would go every day, and it's, you know, actually taking urine samples and then doing, getting information from that and kind of figuring out how best to de-stress a dog that's in a shelter. You know, because those are, most humans are going to get a shelter dog. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah. For research, there's a lot going on. There's any question that you ask. There's plenty of opportunity here to do it.
Okay, awesome. I'm going to take one quick break because I saw a chat come through from one of our students, and that the link, oh, there's a wrong link out there. Okay. If you don't mind, Dee, if you could talk a little bit, we talked a lot about the canine aspect. Can we talk a little bit about the equine section? I'm going to go on mute and call one of my marketing people just to see if we can get the right Zoom link out. So thank you.
Of course. So when it comes to horses, there is, I believe this is their sophomore year, there is an introduction to how to take care of a horse, how to understand a horse, how to approach one. And it's really interesting with them because really it's the horse that kind of directs that relationship. And through our classes, that is the one way to actually learn about grooming, about riding them, working with them. And so we do a really good job, I think, of setting a foundation of animal care with our horses. And students who, for example, are allergic to them or would rather not have that kind of interaction are still able to take our courses and are still able to learn the effects that horses have on humans, as far as hippotherapy and any other therapy that has to where it's working with the human mind or working with the human body. So there are programs out there that students become aware of where somebody who needs like core strengthening or balance or anything like that, they do use a horse to kind of learn how to balance. And it's a wonderful, I think, experience for them because they see that partnership where a horse is willing to be there for them, really. And they're able to kind of recover from whatever they're experiencing. And of course, riding, students are able to ride horses if they are so inclined to do so. We give them that opportunity. And so they have 2 years one-on-one, hands-on with horses. And of course, if any student wants to do a research project, if any student wants to, you know, in a statistics class, like you can, I mean, I would encourage that anytime you can do a project in any other of the courses, throw in an animal in there and it's going to be amazing. Your professors are going to be, wow, like I didn't know this. Like I throw an animal in there in anything that you're going to do in every course, I think. That's actually kind of fun. Yeah, so as far as that, it is, like I said, it is a minor. So we are, of course, looking for ways to expand that part of the anthrozoology program. I think it's very important in learning how horses change our lives in very unexpected ways.
Wonderful. And I know one question I get all the time as an admission counselor, and maybe you can help answer this or give like that general, but can I bring my horse? Or is there a way, like, and we always tell them like you can, but they won't be housed with our anthrozoology program horses. But can you talk a little bit about if students do bring their horse, where it, like, do you have connections or any kind of networking that can help them find a house them, anything like that?
There are a couple of boarding places in town that have accommodated students who have brought their horses. And by accommodate, I sort of mean like they're able to rent the space and the care for them. And so they wouldn't work with their animal during class in their labs, but of course they're here for them. We have had students that bring their horses because it's part of their way of life. Do you know what I mean? And so they must, just like people work with their dogs that way. You know, they need to have them around to be able to be successful and move forward. So yeah, they do. They're not housed, of course, with our herd, but yeah, they can come out here. I can't remember the name of the locations here, but we do have several boarding places in town.
Wonderful. And that kind of also then ties in with a very frequently asked question is, can I use my dog in the training or can I keep the dog?
So I get a lot of calls like that also, where it's like, I have a dog that would be wonderful for your program, but we don't take in community dogs into the program. They have to be specifically shelter dogs, because if you think about the correlation of a shelter animal and people that are in prison, they experience the same kind of stress level. They need a way to rehabilitate themselves to kind of reintegrate into society, and dogs go through that same experience. And so there's another connection that I see that's so valid. And so that junior year, no, they must adopt out their dog. And I always say that that adoption process, especially their junior year, is it's kind of life-changing, and it's a valuable experience that I am thankful that it happens here while they're learning. They work with their animal 8-9 months. They see the change in the animal, they see the change in themselves, and it's always really introspective because then they learn mostly patience. Got to have patience because you can't speak dog and dog doesn't speak human. So you got to get creative in how to reach that animal, just like you'll have to get creative to reach a person that you're working with, trauma victims, that sort of thing. And so they grow, both of them do. And so the students have to let that animal go. And the lesson there is for any person, well, for anybody, human track or animal track, when you work and rehabilitate anyone or any animal, you're doing it you're setting them up for success to move on beyond you. And so you will get attached to the people you work with. You will kind of get attached with your animals, but the lesson is your part in their life ends so that they can move on and have another better life. So it is tearful, but it's a lesson that I'm glad that they learned here because they're supported here, you know? So, yeah. Now, the students that go on their senior year to do any sort of project where, like an independent study, those dogs, it's the student's choice. If they're working with someone in the community where they want to work on a service animal, a therapy animal, then that's between the student and the community member. You know, how do we want to train the dog to do something? And so then eventually they'll be.
Oh, Dee, did we lose you? Hold on, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I do apologize. I am not sure where Dee went. We somehow dropped her, so hopefully she'll come back. Please accept my deepest apologies for the wrong Zoom link that went out. I am so sorry for that. We do ask that everyone stays muted for this presentation. We also have been recording everything, so we will be posting this. Some of the things that Dee did cover includes the 4-year plan, kind of what students can expect, how anthrozoology came to be here at Carroll. Other things is that if you have any questions, please feel free to drop a message into our chat system. That is how I'll be asking Dee once she comes right back. I know it won't be too long. But thank you, everyone. I do apologize again, and we'll give Dee just a quick second to join us back in. So feel free to send out any questions you may have, and we will get that in right away. And I'm going to send that invite back out so that Dee can connect in. Sorry about that loss. Perfect. And we'll just go ahead and ask that everyone please mute their audio, and then we will get Dee right back. It must be a Friday, so thank you everyone for joining us. Make sure she hasn't called me, so. All right, and for all of you that I've seen a few more people join in, just in case you didn't hear me, we have been recording this session, so you will have full access to the full recording. Dee did a great job going over different aspects, but she's very excited for any questions you might have. I do know the next question that we have coming up will be that she's going to talk about kind of what are the jobs and things that you can do with an anthrozoology department, or a major, department, goodness. So that will be one of the questions that she had ready for us and she really wants to cover, but please submit while we're waiting for Dee to join us back in. Please submit your questions and we will get those answered. I'm gonna go give her a quick call.
Hello, I'm sorry. My battery died.
Oh, no worries. I was like, where did Dee go?
I'm so sorry. It's plugged.
That's okay. No worries, Dee. Well, Dee, we have a great, a bunch of people have now joined us. We're really excited. I did explain that we have been recording, so we will have this available for them to watch the first part. One thing I did say we were going to kind of move into, I don't quite remember exactly where we left off. We were talking about the dogs and the opportunities students have about how they have to go through that letting go process. Maybe we could shift gears a little bit, and could you talk a little bit about the job prospects with an anthrozoology major? That is another great question that I get a lot as an admission counselor, usually from some parents going, what's my son or daughter going to do with this? How can they use this?
So yeah, parents are, what is anthrozoology and how can my son or daughter make a career out of this? Because it's like I said, wherever humans and animals intersect, there's places that we don't even think that they do, but they do. And so we contacted some of our seniors, or actually all of them, last year to kind of put together a scientific poster of what our anthrozoologists out there are doing, and to give an example of what future anthrozoologists can do. So I'm just going to read off a couple of them. When it comes to wildlife, this is a great way to kind of get into working with aquariums, working with zoos, and also working, you can be a park ranger. I think here it gives you a nice foundation of, in a different perspective of how to live with the animal, how to work with them. And so, like I said, wildlife, one of our graduates is now working in an aquarium. That's what she wanted. And she's using the training techniques that she learned here to apply them to the animals that she works with. Because if you think about, you gotta get a blood sample from a seal. You've got to give an injection, you got to check their teeth, that sort of thing. How do you get the animal to participate? Not so much that we're going to hold you down, we need your blood, we got to take it. It's better to have them participate, that it's their choice. And so they learn that here. We have one student, Leslie Grant, who...
Leslie's one of my dear friends. I'm so glad you're talking about her.
Oh, you know Leslie. So her goal was to work with animals when it comes to film. And she's now in Canada. And so she landed her dream job, which is where she works with wolves. And she trains them up for being filmed, you know, movies or documentaries, that sort of thing. And so that blows our mind that, you know, she was able to get where she wanted to be with the dog training and working with horses. And she works with wolves. And so it's amazing.
I just have to do a quick shout out because if any of you do watch Game of Thrones or have seen that show, she actually works with some of the wolves that were a part of that show. She has pictures with them, and I don't get starstruck, but apparently I do by wolf actors because I was like, oh, I know that wolf. So I love Leslie. She's amazing.
That's fantastic to know, because, you know, that's fantastic. I got to add that in my fun facts. Other ways that anthrozoology would contribute to the world is we have some students that have done like global influence. One of our students, Monsi, she works in a turtle conservation organization in California. That's what she wanted to work with. And so with her experiencing and training her dog here at Carroll College, she has the goal of training her own personal scent detection dog. And it's going to be specific to searching for turtle shells. She has some research ideas in mind that will take her around the world. Fabulous, right? Because research moves forward, animal training continues, and it just is a showcase of another way we can partner with animals. Try not to use the word use. You know, we use them. It's more about a partnership. They do something for us, we do something for them. Also, in welfare. We have students that have gone into work in animal welfare. They're running shelter organizations. They're a part of the behavior training with them. So they make their animals better adoptable. They have a better understanding of what people who are coming in to adopt a dog are looking for. And so there's just, human psychologies in there. And so they make a better connection. When it comes to human therapy, we've got students that use animals in their therapeutic sessions, and they learn that here just how it can be done fear-free. They can better assess their human patients into what they might need to get them through whatever they're going on through life. It's almost like you don't think that an animal will be sort of that conduit to kind of get a human to open up to another human. You know what I mean? And so we also have veterinary medicine, obviously. So one of our graduates sent us a lovely quote about how she better understands that relationship when it comes to the medical portion of humans and their pets. So she is able to actually treat the animal and her clients better, knowing the differences between a pet, service, therapy, and a working dog. People come in with a different relationship with that animal. And so because of going through our program, she is more intuitive and sensitive to that. And so she has a better perspective in how to work with her clients, which obviously leads to, I believe, fear-free handling. It puts the person at ease, it puts the animal at ease, and better medical care. We also obviously have the equine and canine portions where students are going on to do research. They are, like I said, research, or also one of them is let me just read this real quick. Her research has to do with counselor education program where she's going to use a horse. People don't always think that a horse can be a therapeutic session or in sessions, but it can. It can open up somebody who's been holding something in, and it's the horse that allows that and brings the person out of their shell. As far as canine, again, it's also research that they're moving forward in. One of our recent graduates, Hannah Decker, worked with a dog, a scent detection dog, where it's for archaeology. And so throughout the year, in her senior year, was adopted by one of our professors, by the way. She was able to successfully train this dog to find like bones or anything that's buried 100 feet deep, like in different locations, and she did it trained here. And so this dog is now a working dog that helps a human work in archaeology. Do you know what I mean? She got that here. She's moved on to get a master's level degree in animal behavior as well. So I think we have a wonderful foundation to provide any career opportunity. And one that I actually would like to see grow is in law and public policy. We have animal cases, that happen, whether it's I want my dog, you want your dog, in a divorce, or there are animal abuse cases or anything like that. A student that goes through our program will have a different perspective, of course, and a better understanding in how to handle a case, how to work with a defendant or prosecution, the other side, or when there's a victim that needs to testify. And again, you put an animal or a dog nearby, it puts them at ease and they're able to speak their story. And I do believe there are some courts in the United States that do use a dog in that way to kind of put that person at ease. And then there's public policy. Two of our graduates from last year worked with produced a service animal that was paired with a veteran. And in their study and in their research, they were actually able to successfully change a law here in Montana. And yes, and what it is about inauthentic service dogs. Mm-hmm. So if you think about, there's some people that are really connected with their animal and they want to take their animal with them. They can say it's my service animal so I can go into a store. And that sort of changes the way people start to view an actual service dog with a person. Because if an easy way to spot them is an inauthentic dog will be disruptive. An inauthentic dog will pay attention to its surroundings. Do you know what I mean? There's another dog, there's a person. A service dog, a successful service dog paired with their human, really the community won't even know it's there. Do you know what I mean? It's in the background, but it's doing something for that person. And so what the students did is that they made, when it's identified that someone has a fake dog out there, is that it's identified, it is now a misdemeanor, where before there was nothing you could do. And it's a sensitive area because there's only so much that anybody can do to ask a person, is your animal really a service dog? Which is your animal a service dog? And the other one is, what task does it perform for you? And they have to tell whoever's asking, like a business establishment. And then of course it's just for them to know, okay, this is what the animal's gonna do for you. Yeah, for medical reasons and the whole bit, those are the only things that you can ask. But yeah, like I said, they changed the law, and I would love to see more students go into that. You know, there's things about health insurance, you know. Do you cover the expense of purchasing a service dog? Service dogs go through several years of training, and they start from puppyhood, you know, and once they're paired, there is a responsibility for medical care and everything, but who pays for it? You know, if you can afford $10,000, $20,000 for that, that's awesome. But then there's going to be people who will benefit greatly and be able to engage in community, but they might not have the resources for it. And so if you think about it, somewhere in our health insurance, there might be something that can be done. Do you know what I mean? So it would take somebody who understands that relationship to go into that specific field and make a change, you know? Nice. Government, everything.
Perfect. No, that's fantastic. So we did have a question come in about what types of projects does the A&Z program have dealing with wildlife? And that's great because we haven't quite touched on that yet. We talked a little bit about jobs that students have done afterwards, but is there anything they can do while they're here?
So, right. So we have a partnership with Montana Wild, where students begin their volunteer service their freshman year by signing up, and then they work with the rehabilitative process there. So as far as projects, it's up to the student how they want to use wildlife in their statistics class, in anything. So it's really up to them, but they get that starting point with Montana Wild. If there are bears on the premises, somebody's got to feed them. Somebody's going to clean up after them. There's students who move on to working with the predator birds. Somebody's got to feed them. Somebody's got to walk them. And walking a bird is really just, it's perched on your arm and you just take them outside. You give them the sun, you let them spread their wings, kind of a thing. And they're part of that rehabilitation to where at some point an injured bird gets released back into the wild, you know, goes back to where it lives, where it thrives. And so they work with the wildlife in that way. So after that point, it's up to the student how they want to. This year, I don't believe we have a student that I'm aware of that is using wildlife as part of their projects, but it's there. It is absolutely there for them.
Awesome. And maybe we can talk a little bit about, can these projects turn into internships, or how does the support for students looking to go on to veterinarian school, job shadowing, volunteering, anything like that? Do we have connections with clinics?
We do. So yes, we do have that support network. A student can potentially work in an internship with Montana Wild. There are definitely opportunities with medical clinics here. And definitely with the Lewis and Clark Humane Society when it comes to behavior modification, making enrichment for the dogs that are waiting to be adopted out. So it's here. It's it's anything the student wants to do, we will make happen for them. We will push and support them to make sure that they get the experience that they want and need for how they want to continue their career. So yeah, it's here.
Wonderful, thank you. All right, so if anyone else has other questions, please feel free to send them into the chat. We'd love to get those answered for you. I guess, let's see here, any other things, I guess, as students are looking at this major and the names I've seen come through of people that have joined us, a lot of them are seniors, but we might have a few juniors possibly here on the call. A little bit about like things that they should be considering as they look at the anthrozoology major. Whether it can be career goals or like what they can expect for like, you know, as a student at Carroll, even just outside of anthrozoology, like what are some things they should be expecting as they come here to Carroll for anthrozoology? Does that make sense, Dee?
Yeah, I think so. So what to expect and what to look forward to is I'm going to call it enrichment and growth and understanding all the cultural aspects and historical ways we've partnered with animals, and it's really amazing. And so I think what is crucial is to continue that view or that understanding that animals have been with us for a long time, and we have worked and partnered with them. So really what they need to look forward to or ought to look forward to is just a building of understanding of all the various ways that it's happened. So like I said, your freshman year is like the umbrella. This is everything. And as they progress through the years, it gets more and more specific. And because our degree in anthrozoology as a whole is wide open, students can make their career in any way that they want. If they have an idea about something and they're like, I need to review this, I need to research this, I want to work in this, they can create their own career. That's how amenable and broad anthrozoology is. So I think that if they're looking for how do I want to work with an animal, how do I want to understand that relationship, all the courses here provide that foundational information so that they can start thinking about how they want to mold their anthrozoology degree and how they want to, again, like, I always forget the words, contribute to society, contribute to research, and that sort of thing. So I think other students at Carroll College is also to understand that it's not just that they're walking a dog. It's not just that they get to train and play with the dog. There's so much that goes into it because there's so much psychology, so much behavioral science and that. So I think just to know that it's so much bigger than I think people initially think anthrozoology is. You know, we're not playing with animals. We're not, it's not like that. You know, it's scientific.
Love it. Awesome. Thank you. And one other question, it just kind of came to the back of my mind, but another question I do get asked quite often is like percentage of acceptance into like grad schools, veterinarian school. How successful are our students in getting in? And maybe, I know Dr. Sothers usually works a lot with the pre-vet kind of students, but is there like, do we know like top schools that our students tend to go to for vet school? Any of that kind of information possible?
So we are very proud to say that statistically, when it comes to veterinarians, they have a 100% success rate in being accepted into the university of their choice. And it really stems from how unique anthrozoology is. And so for pre-vets, you would be like a biology major, really, and then have a minor in anthrozoology or double major, anything like that. So that's how they would go through here. And so, like I said, every student gets into the school of their choice. When it comes to graduate school, I do believe that the students that go on to graduate school are also accepted into their program of choice. And what was your other question?
No, I think that was pretty much like, oh, if there were any schools that were maybe more popular for our students to attend for either vet or grad school.
I think Washington State University. Our pre-vet curriculum is modeled after WSU. But when a student comes in and they already have in mind which university they want to go to, then we will mold our degree to fit the requirements for the school that they want to go to. So they have a leg up here because we're going to give them the information that they need to get into that school of choice. Yeah, we are very, very excited and proud that's it makes us so unique. It gives us like, you know, it's like, oh, what is anthrozoology? How is that going to lend itself to graduate school? And the student can go through all 4 years and say, this is why. And of course, it provides a different perspective, unique.
Perfect. Wonderful. And then we did get asked, what class for anthrozoology is your favorite? Can you choose?
No, I can't. I did thoroughly enjoy animal welfare. In my year, it was taught by Dr. Perkins. And the way she taught it is pretty much by the end of our semester, we pretty much had a TED Talk. So that's how it was set up, our project and the animal that we were researching, which I loved because it just, we worked with, me and my partner worked with animal research. So that took us down a road that was pretty interesting. Definitely a conversation that we all should be having. But yeah, and so at the end of the semester, I had like at least like a 40-minute TED Talk if I wanted to, which I'm not gonna do. But really every single class is my favorite, every single class. Intro to Anthrozoology, any student in any major can take it, and I strongly encourage any student here to take Intro through Anthrozoology. It's kind of mind-blowing. But yeah, every class is my favorite.
Fantastic. That's so cool. So the last question that's come in, and then this we'll kind of use this as our wrap up for our Q&A is, Zoe did ask, and we covered it a little bit earlier, so we'll be able to post this video later as soon as it comes through. But if you could talk a little bit about if wanting to use animals in counseling and being a therapist, what do you do? How do you get started with that at Carroll? Do you just jump and say, I'm anthrozoology and that's all I have to do? Or do you have to pair it up with anything else?
As a graduate, typically I believe what would benefit is to be a psychology major and minor in anthrozoology, or do double major, because when you graduate, of course, you'll be working with humans, and what you'll benefit from both degrees is, again, that understanding of that relationship. And so a training aspect for, say you use a dog in your therapy service, you use a bird in your therapy services, you can use snakes, you can use whatever animal would benefit the person. I think Dr. Aubrey Fine has like an array of animals, and it's sort of which animal does that person gravitate towards? Boom, that's what they use. But really it's going to be either they are able to possibly train their own animals to be there, or they would know what to look for and how to assess an animal that they purchase for their practice. But then when it comes to how to partner with a dog that goes into a therapy session, it would typically be, I think, a very slow process. You know, introduce an animal, is a human comfortable? No, it's not. Okay, it went out. That sort of thing. So yeah, I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, no, I think it did. So yeah, as Dee mentioned earlier, some of our popular, and you said this a little bit, and I might ask you kind of one last follow-up question, but you mentioned for pre-veterinarian students here at Carroll, biology is often the major with an anthrozoology minor or a double major. For counseling and therapy, psychology is a major with maybe a minor in anthrozoology or a double major. So you kind of thrown out like double majoring. Is that something that's easy to do with anthrozoology?
I believe so. We have one of our graduates from a couple years ago. I do believe she double majored in sociology and anthrozoology, and she is now a police officer here in town. So again, there's a different perspective and understanding of how she interacts with the public. So I think it's really up to the student if they are able to handle that workload. But because anthrozoology is so broad and amenable to any career path, it's easy to pull from anthrozoology courses and apply them to what their other major is. I don't see any sort of hiccup or any sort of barrier in doing that. So it's possible, and I know it's exciting for the students that have graduated that way.
Awesome. Wonderful. Well, I believe that has answered all the questions that have come in. Dee, thank you so much for spending your time with us today. I really appreciate it. So excited to be able to have this Q&A with you.
Absolutely. It's fun.
Wonderful. Yes. So, and we're really looking forward to our new Canine Center, which will be opening this fall. Freshmen, incoming freshmen, you guys are lucky. You'll be the very first class to get it for all 4 years. All the other classes are going to be jealous of you for sure.
Because I didn't mention it, let me just quickly describe what this amazing center is.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about it, did we?
So we have a new home. We have a building, a center that was graciously helped to be built and realized by the donors that are supportive of our degree and want to see it flourish. And so our new center will have a canine training dedicated space. We'll have a classroom where all of our A&Z courses will be held, with the exception of equine labs, of course. Those obviously have to go into where our herd is located. We have 2 research rooms. We have a veterinary room set up, so the pre-vet students will have an area that looks like a veterinary clinic to work with their animal. If they need to draw blood, like there is so much that they can do. And for students that aren't in pre-vet and that have their program dog their junior year, guess what? We're gonna have to weigh them. We're going to have to clean out their ears. We're going to have to trim their nails. And then they're going to be again in a veterinary setting to do that. And so hopefully we'll have, we'll have a software system where we are going to be entering animal information like a veterinary clinic does. And so that again gives hands-on. This is what a veterinarian is looking for. This is what they're going to type into their medical records. If you're pre-vet, this is what it might, what it's generally going to look like. And those that aren't pre-vet just get to have that experience. Type in what they did with their animal, what we decided their diagnosis is. But and in addition, we have 3 indoor kennels and I believe 4 outdoor kennels where the dogs can be placed when the student is in class or while they're still doing crate training or separation anxiety, that sort of thing. Instead of leaving the dog in their dorm room, they can kind of still work with their animal while they're near them with their classes. So, and again, there we're going to have a grooming table. We're going to have a bathing station, a couple of other things. So yeah,
that'll be fantastic. Oh my goodness, can't wait.
Yeah, we're excited.
Oh, I bet. Wonderful. Okay, so that will then wrap up our Q&A. Thank you for sharing that, Dee. I can't believe we almost forgot the biggest new part of anthrozoology. Yeah. We almost left that out. Dee, any last words you'd like to share with everyone here before I wrap up this meeting?
Yeah, I would ask anybody who's thinking of coming into anthrozoology here at Carroll College is to already start beginning to ask their questions. What am I looking to do with an animal? What about my relationship with my pet is interesting? If they're viewing something out in the community and wanting to understand the service animal or anything like that, is to start writing down what your scientific questions could be, and it could be anything. So as you go forward, you can start kind of growing that scientific question that could lead to a scientific poster like we did with de-service dogs and veterans. It could lead towards an additional expansion and education in anthrozoology. So I would say start thinking about that and look to places that you wouldn't think there is an animal connection, because if you look around, it's everywhere. Everywhere. Any animal, it's everywhere.
Okay. Awesome. That is wonderful. Well, thank you, Dee. I can't thank you enough. I'm so glad you joined us. Everyone else, thank you as well for joining us. Again, apologize for the little bit of confusion we had, but we're so excited you were all able to be here. As I said, we will make sure to get this full link sent out to you via email. I am writing down actually right now everyone who's here so that I can make sure that you get this link. And yes, if you have any last minute things, if you have questions, you can submit them and then I'll make sure I get back to you to answer those questions via email. Thank you again. Have a lovely day. Bye, everyone.
Oh, this was great.
Yes. Oh, this was wonderful. Really, really. I'm trying to remember how to stop the recording. There it is.
So yeah, we